All right there, everybody. Welcome to show number 11 of The Hidden Window. So, kind of a milestone. You know what? I don't want to do a recap of why I'm doing this. If you want to find out why, just go back to episode number 1. It talks about all the lunacy of my mind, why I'm doing this, my interest. But I get one question more than any. Who was this Bob in the bunker you keep talking about? Well, Bob is my acknowledgement that the government listens to everything we do and say. So you don't believe me? Look at the electrical usage in Northern Virginia. It is the highest in the nation, not by a little bit, by a huge margin. Why? Because data storage creates a lot of heat, and that heat costs a lot of energy and a lot of usage. So they do. I think everyone will probably admit that they do. So they're trigger words, and I probably hit about 10 of those, 50 of those every show. So that's my acknowledgement. Bob is my friend down there at the bunker. I figure they probably hire some poor sad sack, some intern, and he's about 12 stories under the ground in Langley in some kind of steel bunker. Can't see the world. Has to listen to all these shows. So it's my tip of the hat to Bob. Bob, hope you're doing well. So that's the real reason why I do things. Normally I do these shows on a Sunday afternoon, but I'm going down this week to see my mother in North Carolina to have a belated Mother's Day. So I'll be doing this today on Saturday. So my son is the brains behind this, not me. He uploads this on whatever they're called, Spot, My Spot, Spotify, Your Spot, I don't know, Yoo-hoo, everything else like that. He does that. I have no idea how to make that work. He does. So that's why we have to use Bert the Turtle, because the Yoo-hoo folks, they ban everything. You can't use that song. You can't use that song. So forget it. Just keep Bert the Turtle alive in there. So that's why Bert the Turtle. It kind of, it sounds cool too, right? All right. We always start off with some light-hearted news. So we're going to go over to Milan, Italy. And what they want to do, they want to ban the eating of ice cream after 12 midnight. The first thing that comes to my mind is that movie Gremlins. Remember you couldn't feed them after midnight? I'm like, is there something in Milan? Are they going to wig out or something? They get a ice cream after midnight? No. Well, the city wants to return the tranquility to the residents. Why would they pick on ice cream after midnight? And I looked up. The bars are open to 3 o'clock. Are they picking on those? No. Pick on ice cream, which is gelato, okay? Well, they tried this in 2013, and it failed miserably. I think there's an Occupy everything, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy, there was an Occupy gelato in Milan, and it failed. So if it failed, what do? Well, try again. So they're going to try. So it looks as though for you folks in Milan, it has passed. Okay, so starting from June to November, the sale of ice cream, and they mentioned a few other foods, they want to have those ceased after midnight. I think they gave some leeway on weekends to 12:30, but it's midnight. Just happenstance, I will be going to Milan in September, so I will be right there in the belly of the beast during the ban. I wonder, if I get ice cream, am I going to send off bells and whistles? Will the Milan Gestapo come down me from eating my ice cream? Maybe I'll find out. So if I don't do a show in October or late September, you'll know why. That the gelato police have caught me, and I am being banned. So we'll find out what happens. All right. This is where Bert comes in. Bert's a standby. I don't think the Yoo-hoo folks, and I know it's YouTube. I just say Yoo-hoo, okay? Everyone looks at me like I have 4 heads when I say that. Yoo-hoo, okay? That's the way I'm calling it. I'm not going to change.
There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered.
All right, so we're going to talk about something today that all of you can see. All of you can witness this. If you look up in the sky, you will see this, okay? We're going to talk about chemtrails, not contrails. Contrails are, remember those World War II movies? They have the bombers fly over. They would always have this jet exhaust coming from, back of the planes, and just be streak across the sky. That's because when at that altitude, it's so cold, like minus 60, that the vapor, the jet engine, just crystallizes, and that's what you see. Those are contrails. And if you go to, Dr. Google and look it up, you will see page after page after page calling this conspiracy, calling you a kook. It's contrails. There are no chemtrails. Well, if they keep having to deny it, that means they admit it. So if you can look it up, chemtrails. There's a lot of things written about it. But here's where this comes into the news. The state of Tennessee, starting in July of this year, is going to ban the release of airborne chemicals, as they call it. They're going to forbid the intentional injection, release, dispersion of chemicals in the air. Well, why are they doing that? Why are they admitting? First off, no one admits that anyone's doing this, okay? So the state of Tennessee is basically saying, not only do we admit it, we're banning it. I don't know how you're going to ban it, but they're going to ban it. And they're not alone. State of Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Kentucky, and I believe Minnesota are also looking to do this, as well as New Hampshire, looking to do this well. So there's something afoot. Why are they doing this? Why are they jumping ahead? I remember, good old Bill Gates, who consequently wants to, get rid of 90% of the world's population. He also came up with this idea that to prevent global warming, why don't we just kind of gray out the sky and prevent some of the sun's beams from coming down? And they would use this dispersion to do it. So it's out there. It's been talked about. However, if you look it up, you probably think, well, this is insane. It's not. When you folks look up into the sky, all right, when you see a true contrail from a jet, you will see them form and they will quickly disperse. You can almost watch them after about a couple minutes. They'll just break up and go away. Chemtrails do not. So the next time you're up and you're outside and you get a clear view of the sky, look up. If you see one that lasts and they linger for a long time, I mean minutes, maybe a half hour to an hour, that is not a contrail. Okay, that's a chemtrail. So they're up there. There's something called Radar 24 or 24 radar. You could look up the flight path of any jet that's out there. So if Delta's flying from New York to Houston, you could look it up and you can find out, oh, there's a jet. If you look at one of these chemtrails and you point your cell phone at it, whatever, and you're on that app and you look at it and nothing comes up, that's because it's a government plane. And those are not on that app. So you see that, it's not on there, tied two and two together, it's lingering in the sky. There are people who reported that the sky was just, it's just grayed out over time. So it happens. But again, you look online, they just deny everything. Everything. Deny. Well, that's what the government does. So not only has this happened, there's proof of this to happen. We did it in Vietnam, called Operation Popeye. This happened from 1967 to 1972. They flew over 2,600 cloud seeding sorties. The whole idea was to extend the monsoon season. So they flew this over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The idea was just to make it so miserable, so much rain, that the Viet Cong couldn't move. So they did it. We did it. We admitted it. Look it up. Operation Popeye. So there's absolute proof of this. I believe they use silver iodide, which is a form they can do dust of clouds with it. Remember Dubai about a month ago? Some folks admitted, yeah, we were cloud seeding. Remember the huge floods they had in Dubai? It's a desert, okay? And they were having those huge floods. Where did that came from? So they admitted it. Then, of course, afterwards, they said, oh, no. It's global. Blame it. Global warming. Just a boogeyman to blame everything on. So it happened. You folks have witnessed this. You've seen it in the news. We did it in Vietnam. These chemtrails are there. Remember the fires out in California that happened? And also Canada. Remember those last summer? I think they're going to fire up again because it was convenient and it worked. So there were people out there that said it didn't seem like a normal fire. The trees sometimes would literally explode. So what they would put in these chemtrails, or what is foreseen, and people have actually taken measurements of these. There are 3 elements: aluminum, barium, and strontium, which I'm not sure what that one is, but I know what aluminum is. So they spray these. I'm saying they do because the chemtrails exist. There's too much evidence of it. There are lakes out in California. Lake Shasta is one of them. They went and they found that the aluminum levels were above where a lot of the chemtrails were out there was not 5, not 10, but 6,000 times. 6,000 times the level of normal acceptancy for aluminum. Where's that came from? People throw Coke cans in a lake? I don't think so. It's from the chemtrails. So during these fires, people said some of these trees, they just exploded when the fires hit them. Men like sparklers, that's what sparklers are made out of. So this one, poof. And there were people in Canada that were reporting, you know what? It doesn't smell right. I'm way down south. They're well, not way down, Mid Atlantic, but we were blacked out last year. You could smell it. It was in the sky. It was horrific. Those in New York City, you saw it, but people closer to the event, they could smell something, and it wasn't a normal fire. So where is this coming from? So that's what I want to talk about. Chemtrails. Again, I there's a ton of it on the internet. You can read it up. I mentioned Richard Serrett a lot. He had a great show about a month ago on chemtrails. He has guests on all the time. He's on Strange Planet. I think he's the best voice out there right now, but you can listen to his show. Again, Strange Planet, Richard Serrett. But there's a ton of out there. Of course, if you look on there, you would think that, well, I'm a kook because it's page after page. It's the disinformation jockeys want to scare you away. Don't be scared away. It's out there. It exists. Next time you're out on a clear sky, look up. Just look up for yourself. If you have that radar 24, look it up. You can see it. It's a thing to track flight paths of planes. And if you look up, you can't find that flight path. You see a trail that's lingering for like a half hour. It's a chemtrail. Why are they doing it? One reason, this is interesting. One reason they're doing it is because I found this fascinating. I talked about the Carrington event, EMP blast, and I think we had a small Carrington event last week. Remember the auroras that hit? Those solar flares that hit? That was a very, very mild Carrington event. If it was big, it would fry stuff. So in Carrington events, what you want to do is create something called a Faraday cage. If you have very sensitive equipment, you put your computer, your generator inside basic chicken wire. So if an EMP blast comes or a Carrington type event from the sky or solar flare, what it would do, those particles, those rays come out, for lack of better words, it hits the chicken wire and diffuses around, it goes into the ground, does not hurt your equipment. One theory was why they're dumping these, barium and aluminum in the sky. It's creating its own Carrington Faraday cage, these microparticles. So if an EMP did hit, rather than reaching the very sensitive equipment, it would be dispersed throughout the air. Maybe. There are crazier things out there. I heard it, I read it, I'm scratching my head, I'm like, besides them want to kill us. That's always out there, but I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. Are they aware of something coming? Or do they foresee something coming? And this is one of their defense mechanisms? It could be. So that's it, folks. Chemtrails, look it up. Remember, the purpose of the show is not to go on and on, it's to make you think, to make you scratch your head and go, that I never thought of that before. That's the whole intent. All right, the intent. All right, as we always do, I end up with just rambling thoughts in my head, stuff that I'm driving down the road, and it's just weird things just pop in my head. So, unfortunately, one of the most tragic events in our society, and I think everyone's affected by this, it's the most unfortunate thing in our society, is suicides. And they're heartbreaking. There's no other word for it. I wish there was a way to wave a magic wand and make them all go away and have them stop, help these people, but it happens. It happens, and it's just horrendous what it does to a family. And I was thinking to myself, no, suicides happen, that's really bad, but how come animals don't commit suicide? And I think to myself, these are random thoughts. Animals don't commit suicide, and how many species of animals are there? Thousands and thousands, and we're the only mammal that wants to off ourselves? And you people say, oh, that's not true. Whales beach themselves. Well, guess what? They're saying that's not true either. They get lost. They have sonar. They get confused. They're not doing it on purpose. They did a lot of research on this. They're going to the beach to say, Fudgy the Royal wants to beach myself and end it all. It doesn't happen that way. So it's just a human species. And then someone's going to say, well, what about lemmings? Lemmings jump off cliffs. No, those were those rat SOBs at Disney. You know what they did when they filmed that movie? They had a turnstile on top of this mountain. They throw these poor animals, these lemmings on there, and they would fling them off the cliff and make it look like they were jumping. They were not. Another reason to hate Disney, But they did it. So lemmings don't do it. I seen foxes who were caught in traps, or coyotes. They would chew their leg off to get out of that trap. Animals just have a will to survive. It's only us. It's only the humans that are doing that. So, I don't know. Maybe we could learn something from the animals, pay more attention. I wish we could maybe splice one of their genes into us and make all the suicides go away. Wouldn't that be great? Okay, everybody, that is this week's show. Again, every 2 weeks, my son will load this up, and Mom will listen to it together down there for your Mother's Day. How about that? All right, everybody, have a good week. Bob down there in the bunker. Be safe, be good. Talk to you all later. Have a good one.